Welcome, happy warriors. Welcome to the Rabbi Daniel Lapin Show, where I, your rabbi, reveal how the world really works. Thanks for being part of the show. And, hey, thank you for subscribing. That's something that so many of you have been doing lately. So if you haven't done that already, please go ahead. Doesn't hurt, only helps, and it can be done on any platform, whatever you're listening. Subscribe to the Rabbi Daniel Lapin Show. And also, I want to let you know that our new book called The Holistic You, which is a book on how to integrate all the 5 crucial areas of your life: your finances, your family, your fitness, your friendships, and your faith, the spiritual aspects of your life, how all of that is integrated into one completely successful life of growth and fulfillment. That book is now actually out. It's available. Thanks to all of you who pre-ordered it. You should have it by now. And if you have already read it, it's time to put a review for us on Amazon. That would be really nice. And thank you, Andrew, and the people who've already done that, much appreciated. But there it is. The book is called The Holistic You, and it is a life-enhancing book for so many people. So today I'm actually going to be talking to a very old friend, somebody whose name is A.J. Rice, and A.J. Rice has a new book out called The Woking Dead. And The Woking Dead is a book, well, the subtitle sort of tells you very much what it is: how society's vogue virus destroys our culture. And what he's saying is something we've spoken about on the show many times, which is that there is a virus out there which in every possible way is actually more dangerous to our lives than COVID was, and that is the woke virus. And A.J. Rice's book is called The Woking Dead, How Society's Vogue Virus Destroys Our Culture. And I'm going to be talking with him. It's been a while since I've spoken with him. A.J. Rice is a bit of a star in conservative politics in America, and has been for a couple of decades already. Like, everybody knows him, and he knows everybody. He has been the executive producer of the Laura Ingraham Show and the Monica Crowley Show, and he's worked at the Washington Times, and he's worked with Glenn Beck, and he knows the landscape really, really well, which is why I thought it would be interesting for me. Originally, I just wanted to catch up with him myself, and then I thought, you know what, why don't we record it and make it available to all of you, all the happy warriors as well? And that's exactly what I did. And you'll be able to hear that conversation coming up right now. I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed catching up again with A.J. Rice.
Well, welcome, A.J. Rice. It is truly terrific to have you on the show, and I've been talking for ages about you coming on this show, and I've been looking forward to this opportunity, so much appreciated. Really great that you made yourself available. Thank you very much indeed.
Rabbi, it really is an honor. You know me, you and I go back a long time.
Yeah, we do.
I am a huge fan, and I try to be as Jewish as possible on a daily basis, while remaining Catholic. So you can help me through the day today.
No, I'm very happy. The more faithful and loyal Catholics there are, the better off the world is. So I'm good with that.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You're a patriot. Yeah.
I could go on and on about your extraordinary life and the people you've known and the work you've done and the things you've created and the movements you've energized in the conservative world. But But I think because you're such an effective spokesman, I think I'm going to try, first of all, just letting it come out organically through our conversation. And then I'll fill in afterwards if I feel that there's anything you've been too modest about. But let's start off with The Woking Dead. Um, it's a book that is at what I don't know when last I've read a book that at one and the same time had me laughing out loud, really, really laughing, just at the writing style and at the phrasing and the comparisons, and at the same time giving me a sense that I'm at 30,000 feet looking down on a cloudless day at the entire landscape and beginning to get a picture of what's really going on in the country. So I know how hard it is to write a book, and I was very aware of that as I was reading my copy and enjoying it so much. But what's a little bit of the background to what impelled you to undertake? It's a huge task, and that book wasn't just thrown together. It was really, really well written. So what made that happen?
Well, the one thing that I think conservatives lose a lot of time, and they're getting better at this, they 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 lose the joke war. I was raised, in Philadelphia. I was raised with all different types of comedy, all different types of entertainment. Some of it I probably saw at too young of age. But if you remember what Rush Limbaugh used to say about using irreverent humor to illustrate truth, and things that Andrew Breitbart used to say, and whether you're a fan of Jackie Mason or Joan Rivers or Rodney or Dennis Leary or whoever tickles your Steve Martin, Woody Allen, whoever it is, I think George Carlin, I think we have reached a point, at least in the culture, and I think this is why you see even some left-wing guys sounding like we've always sounded, sounding like Rush or sounding like this show or Breitbart, is that The Woking Dead is coming for our joy. It's coming, and this is one of the many flavors of wokeism in sort of the kaleidoscope of colors that wokeism comes in, because it started out like Baskin and Robbins is 36 flavors, and now it's like the Crayola 64 box and spreading. But one of the things I think the core of it is cancel culture, yes, but it's a control of our language. And I want to bring humor to illustrate truth. So obviously I'm using zombie metaphors, The Walking Dead, George Romero, Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Night of the Living Dead. So The Woking Dead to me is not just, me being clever and channeling, vintage cheesy horror. If you sort of study the people that are trying to control our language, trying to control Dave Chappelle, trying to control you, trying to control me. I mean, I've been kicked off of this platform or that. They kind of do move about like zombies. Many of them are not critical thinkers. I mean, say what you want about atheists like Bill Maher, guys like Rogan who were Catholic, but I think is kind of an atheist guy now. They can see this. And religious Jewish people have always see. They could always see this. They could always see when someone was trying to cancel the Jewish people, because that has been tried a lot. But cancel jokes, cancel gatherings, trying to control what you can say and who you can make fun of and when. And in the old days, it's funny. Speaking of Jewish comics, I mean, you go back to someone like Lenny Bruce, who today they would absolutely try to cancel, but in the past it was some of the libertine stuff and some of the lewd stuff that had Catholics and rabbis and the uptight community going after him because he was making fun of the wrong God. That's what he used to say. You can make fun of God, but you got to pick the right God. If you make fun of the Kennedy God, then you're going to get hammered. If you make fun of this God, you'll get hammered. And for a time after 9/11, I find it interesting that if you made fun of the Islamic God, if you made fun of Allah, whether you're South Park or whether you're Pamela Geller doing a Draw Muhammad contest, whether you're Salman Rushdie, if you make fun of the wrong God there, then the totalitarians from the radical Islam will come get you. And it's interesting because cancel culture isn't always, a totalitarian thing of the sort of atheist left or the humanist left. It can come in different forms. I mean, there's been burning of witches. I mean, we can go all through history and find cancel culture. What I find fascinating, and we just had an anniversary of 9/11, is that today, the people that are all in the basket together is that you've got a lot of people that are sort of men and women of the left that want to do their profession. I don't care whether it's Roseanne Barr or Tim Allen or Dice or Bill Maher or Chappelle. Like I said before, people are hunting them, trying to control their language. Now, Christians and Jews are used to being hunted, and this in the post 9/11 world, and maybe even in the post war on terror world, because the Republican Party has kind of moved away from that. I find it interesting that the left has figured out a way to bring some of these comedians that are not really men of faith together with Christians and Jews who are used to being canceled, and very interesting, paging Abraham, Islam in some of these communities in Minneapolis and Michigan and Maryland, they're looking around. These, as far as I can tell, they're not responding by, decapitating people. They're not responding the way ISIS would respond. They are pushing back on these school boards in some of these places because they don't want wokeism or the trans mafia, as I call them. They don't want any of this stuff pushed down their children's throats either. So here we are in the modern world. Lenny Bruce would get a kick out of this, where you've got, people that want to tell jokes for a living that may not be of faith. And you've got the three sons of Abraham, sons and daughters of Abraham, all the Abrahamic religions, all united. Isn't it interesting what the left has done here? We're all united against one thing, and that is wokeism. Whether it's the cancel culture variety, whether it's the trans mafia variety, whether it's this attack on toxic masculinity or the 1619 Project, the social justice warrior stuff. Because at the root of it, people ask me to define wokeism. What is it? Where does it come from? I would say it's at the core, it's cultural Marxism. It's picking winners and losers. It's deciding who gets to, be in the spotlight and who doesn't, who gets removed and whitewashed from the public arena and who doesn't. And it's not new. And we can get into where it came from. It's something I talk about quite a bit. It's something I'm writing the sequel to The Woking Dead about now. Where it came from, it's not a modern phenomenon that is only affecting Gen Z or the millennials. It's been around a long time, and it's a form of Marxism that really predates World War I.
AJ, I was, one of the things that was interesting me, one of the many things in the book, was how far can we carry this metaphor? If I remember correctly, don't zombies thrive on the blood of their victims, or do I have that wrong?
Yeah, in some stories it's the brains, sometimes stories it's the blood, sometimes it
also
takes a bite.
If we carry the metaphor further, sure. These woke zombies, these woking dead, what are they living on? What are they consuming? What's in it for them?
The thing that drives them is the devouring of the unwoke. So to carry the metaphor further, and one thing I've been researching this lately is I in some ways wokeism is a peer contagion. Right? It's a peer contagion.
It's a virus. It's
absolutely
much more dangerous than COVID.
And that's the book. I mean, that's why the subtitle is what it is, right? How America's Vogue virus. Because look, I like to think that Elon read the book he's been calling this a woke mind virus, right? So zombies eat brains, zombies bite you. You have a peer contagion that is spreading mainly among the youth and the whitest people in America that buy into this stuff, that are just signaling us all to death with their masks and their signs out front that say love is love and the rest of it. Of course, these are not people that work their rear end off for a living. These are the most elite among us. These are people in the whitest neighborhoods in America. These are not people these are generational college educated people. And they're riding around in their Audis, Rabbi, with their pumpkin spice lattes and on their Pelotons. And they're telling all the rest of us, to shut the blank up and allow the devouring, allow the peer contagion to spread, right? While they virtue signal with their BLM flags and the rest of it. So they're coexist bumper stickers. So, that's who we're dealing with. So, yes. And I used the virus term because while we were locked down, and I wrote most of this when we were, it dawned on me that the true virus that was afoot was not the China virus. It wasn't the I ate a bat virus. It wasn't a bioweapon that escaped the lab virus. It wasn't, the scent of Dr. Fauci's stench. It was this. It was the woke virus that while we were locked down and we were going through what I call an authoritarian dress rehearsal, they were pumping this stuff into us in all its forms, whether it's the Me Too movement or cancel culture or the trans mafia's agenda. They're pumping this into us and into our children in particular. The saving grace, of course, is a bunch of parents that, you got two-income households. They're not paying attention. All of a sudden, they're opening the textbooks and they can't find Thomas Jefferson, but they can find, genderqueer and Tommy has two mommies and Michelle Obama and Malcolm X. They've replaced the founding fathers with this stuff. So yes, absolutely. Take the metaphor to its logical conclusion. It's a peer contagion that is devouring people's common sense and really their brains.
Have they lost comedians like Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, whom both of whom you mentioned? Did they go too far, or just from a strategic point of view? Should
Absolutely.
Somebody have said to them, hey, you don't want to lose those two guys? Have they lost them, and how?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. We know that Joe Biden's not the, sharpest tool in the shed. He never has been. I mean, I'm in the swamp here, and, I've met Biden quite a bit. And he's always sort of your affable Uncle Cracker type guy. He's busting stones and he's talking sports. And, I was the former executive producer of the Laura Ingraham show. And
I remember, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Biden used to hang out in the green rooms of America. So Laura and I would bump into him quite a bit. Or on the Excella, which is the train on the East Coast that goes up and down 95. And I will say that there are other people out there that are way smarter Democrat politicians. Bill Clinton, definitely. Barack Obama, say what you want about him. He's a Gen X guy. He was definitely involved in the culture, hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce, hanging out with Springsteen. A little known interview that he gave to some podcast that no one pays attention to. He basically said last year, the Democrats need to cut this woke stuff out because Obama, whether he believes in wokeism or not, knows that when you lose guys like Bill Maher, when you lose Rogans, when you lose the Chappelles, when you lose Chris Rock on some of this stuff, he can tell that there is something afoot in the culture, and that he basically said Democrats need to stop being a buzzkill, which is true. And I've always called them a buzzkill. You've called them it. Coulter used to say that they're just like, joy vacuums. They suck joy out of everything. They want to, and really, when you try to control everyone's bodily functions and how much salt they use and whether they want to drink a big gulp in 7-Eleven in New York City, or, take the salt and pepper salt shakers off the tables like Bloomberg did. When you start to control people like that, Michelle Obama's school lunch program, even, which was starving the youth of America.
Yeah.
people have had enough. They'll push back, right? Once you're like in their house and in their, refrigerator, and they're still doing this. They're trying to control gas-fired stoves and, generators. And all of it is really, we're all at the mercy of whatever flavor of Marxism we're dealing with that day. A lot of it pushed by the global warming crowd. So, yeah, there are some Democrats like Obama. I find Obama's a fascinating character. I mean, look, I did everything in my power to stop the man twice. We ran some politicians against him that, were just chum in the water. It was like, me dunking on grandma. God love McCain and Romney. But I would say Obama kind of gets it. And he has said some things like that, like, you know what, we maybe need to tone it down a little bit, because once Bill Maher sounds like Hannity, you got a problem, because Bill Maher's by no means a Bush, Trump lover. But when you start losing guys like that, and you start pushing them into the arms of Tucker Carlson or you, Rabbi, or whoever, you got a big problem on your hands culturally. And it's funny, Donald Trump, I just wrote a section of my next book, which goes into all the relationships Trump had with the hip hop community. One of the other things Obama mentioned was maybe one, and this is so stupid, but maybe one, and this is so simple. I mean, this is how Obama sees black people. That maybe one of the reasons so many black people and black rappers voted for Trump and supported him, whether it's Lil Wayne or Ice Cube or Kanye, is because Trump knows how to manipulate the culture, that everything Trump does is gold-plated and loud and, chauvinistic and that maybe black males gravitate towards that, and Democrats need to work harder to try to separate Trump from black males. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. So as much as Obama can see the culture, he can get things wrong. Maybe black people, and maybe Trump got more of the black vote than every Republican since Eisenhower, is because he was offering something that maybe the Democrats weren't, or not taking them for granted, or going into the community and or offering. I mean, Obama was president for 8 years. He never did prison reform. He never did criminal justice reform. He had 2 shots to put a black person on, 3 shots actually, 2.5, right, with Merrick Garland. He had a bunch of shots to put a black person on the Supreme Court. He didn't do it. He put a wise Latina on there and 2 white people. Garland didn't get on, but Kagan got on. So, every black person that's been put on the Supreme Court has been put on by a white person. Fun fact, Democrats. So look, he gets it to some extent. He's got his, he's got a little, it doesn't take much to be the tallest midget when you're dealing with Biden. Biden told the most watched black radio show in the country that if you don't vote for me, you're not black. All right. If you don't vote for Uncle Joe, you're not black, yeah. Which is insane. And the host of that program should have handled himself better. That was the Breakfast Club. So look, that's out there. Many of my black clients, and you've interviewed some of them, probably a lot of them, black pastors that are conservative, they say that the plantation moved basically from the field to the mind. And that really is also where wokeism overlaps, because there is a whole section of the Woking Dead that is trying their best to divide us on racial lines, that is trying their best to keep, through the black pastors, the black media, and the black politicians, keep people sort of trapped in one way of thinking. Dave Chappelle is a famous rich guy, and he's by no means Ben Carson. He's from D.C., so he's not some Republican, right? He's not Larry Elder, but he sees it. But he's got a lot of power. Guys like Chris Rock have a lot of power. So if you're coming up now and you're a comedian, just to bring it back to where we started, if you're trying to get on stage at some, some gig at, whether it's a Laugh Factory or Caroline's or wherever you're, LA, right? Wherever you're trying to perform, if you're trying to get on stage with certain jokes, you may self-censor. And that is the goal. That's the goal of the cultural Marxists. It's not just to get the Chappelle to self-censor. They want to get all the people that don't do this for a living, like you and I, to self-censor. And then corporate America comes in, Rabbi, and they devise these little sushi menu scores for us.
Yes, that's right.
With ESG and DEI is that you get, and what it's starting to become something very similar to China's social credit system.
Yes.
We're all going to be given a grade on how woke we are, or how quickly we're joining the woking dead and allowing the peer contagion to spread. So they use ESG and DEI to exclude people, to cancel them, to grade their score. Oh, you're not woke enough. You're not going to get the promotion. You know, the white woman in the Indian headdress named Elizabeth Warren, she'll get the promotion. So, right, the people that are picketing Columbus Day will get the promotion, right? So the people that want to cancel St. Patrick and Yom Kippur and whatever else, they get the promotion. And then you sort of self-censor, you self-correct. And that's the goal, is to slowly, incrementally get us all to control our language, because wokeism has kind of been, and your audience knows this, like when you get a new piece of technology, you get a new app, you download it, or you want to sign up for LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. You know, you've got an iPhone and you get the iOS download, which is update your phone. If you don't do it, your phone won't work in about a year and a half. And you have to sign something called a user agreement. Wokeism has become, and this peer contagion has become, the user agreement for all of us to be an American citizen. And that's what the Chinese have, the people in Cuba have, North Korea. They have user agreements, or if you don't sign it, if you don't comply with the user agreement, you're done. You vanish. You go to the gulag.
Do you think are we moving in the direction of debanking people who don't sign the user agreement?
Absolutely. I mean, we're there. I mean, so there's all these tech platforms that a lot of entrepreneurial type people use, Patreon, PayPal. You know, we don't all have Elon Musk money, so we can't. I mean, Musk invented PayPal, but I mean, we can't. So you've got all these guys out there. I mean, you know, some of them are our friends, like Robert Spencer, and so I mean, you know, Pamela Geller, Horowitz. I mean, they're in the past. It was, you say something bad about Islam, and go in and get you. I call them, Rabbi, I call them the digital brown shirts. They go in, they're watching you, right? And they're there to demonetize, deplatform, shadow ban. And yes, I mean, Kanye West, and God knows that the audience of this show and my people, we're not agreeing with any of this stuff Kanye's saying about the Holocaust or Jews or any of this stuff. But West got it all removed like that. He got it all removed like that.
Yes.
But that's an extreme case. But there are people, yes, they are alerting the banks. So whether it's Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, whoever it is, to start to monitor who has accounts at certain places and who doesn't. And it's all based on First Amendment rights. And it's like that we will make you not be able to earn a living. We will make you not be able to bank here or save money or move money around, invest in certain companies. And look, they're perfecting this now. Once AI exists and it becomes thoroughly woke, which it's heading in that direction, they'll be able to catch all of us at the speed of light, So the audience might not know this, but I'm not just an author and a former executive producer of shows, but I run something called Publius PR. We provide guests. We provide guests to shows. And one of the ways we're able to do this, we're not dialing people up and calling everyone in the world. There's too many shows and it takes up too much time. We have to use email marketing companies or devices. Well, I can tell you that MailChimp in particular, I've been booted off there many times.
Really? What is your
So
sin?
it's not because I used one of the 7 dirty words. I've been booted off of LinkedIn too. But you got these companies, right? Like Constant Contact, MailChimp. So MailChimp was owned by Intuit, which has a relationship with Microsoft. And I've been booted off of there merely because I send a guest pitch or a press release from someone that the digital brown shirts don't approve of. Now, there are certain words in the English language that get flagged. If you use the word like stolen election or insurrection or vaccine or anti-vax or whatever the hell it is, there's a bunch of them. It's not the F word, the S word, it's not the old dirty words. These are the new dirty words, Rabbi. Right? So you got the new dirty words. And I tell all my bookers, do not put these words in the subject line. Do not capitalize them. And what would happen is there were programs in the past that it would flag words that would suspend your account. So I got suspended because of RFK Jr., because we promoted his book. We promote his publisher's books.
Oh, and they're down on him.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now, so you've got Gates, you've got Fauci. That last book was about both of them. But whether it's the CO2 Coalition promoting global warming, whether it's Naomi Wolf, whether it's Stella Morabito, whether it's any of the doctors, most of them are Skyhorse authors. So if it's Ladapo, if it's Malone, if it's Edward Dowd, if it's Huff, if it's Pierre Corey, who wrote a book called The War on Ivermectin, no matter who it is. So they're after these people, right? And then I got the anti-trans people. You start talking then the brown shirts. So what's going to happen is this. It's no longer going to be a human that flags these words or a program that flags these words. AI is going to be able to read everything we write, everything at the speed of light. So whether it's an op-ed at the Washington Times or a Breitbart, or whether it's using a MailChimp where you're sending out, you have a list of 100 journalists, and you're trying to get an author interviews, like the rabbi, ladies and gentlemen, the rabbi's on my list. So he gets emails from me.
Yeah.
And he reads it as a human, and he decides whether they're good enough to be on the show. There is a future ahead where you're not going to be able to. They're going to block my pitch before it gets to you, especially if we're using web-based emails like Google and Yahoo and these other things, right? So that's why conservatives have to invent their own, apps. Rumble is an alternative to YouTube, and Getter and because all of us are being hunted by the digital brown shirts. All of us. I'm no longer allowed on LinkedIn. Why? 2 reasons. Naomi Wolf is a reason, because of her studies of the Pfizer vaccine that her and Bannon did. And then Gregory Wrightstone of the CO2 Coalition, who is a global warming, skeptic. So, I've got guys like Lucas Miles, right? And perfect AI, the more they perfect this technology, the job is to separate us from each other, to isolate us, to deplatform us, and to put us in their little jars on the shelf. We're all putting in, in our, here's the anti-trans woke camp, and here's this camp for these people, and that's where we're at. It's not physical yet. Sometimes they attack us physically, though, if they can't get us digitally. We got a guy in Brett Kavanaugh's neighborhood looking to hurt him. Got a guy jumping on stage with Lee Zeldin. He's running for governor of New York. Got a guy try to stab Dave Chappelle on stage in Los Angeles. Got a guy people that went to Tucker Carlson's house. And then you have people that do stab people, like Salman Rushdie got stabbed.
Yeah.
And
So,
they'll give your address out online. It's called doxing. So look, we're at war, ladies and gentlemen. Wokeism is a war, and we
well,
win some
that's
and we
what
lose some.
I wanted I wanted our audience to hear you lay that out very specifically as you've just done, and the techniques and the cultural impositions that have been practiced by the Woking Dead um, are not that different from things that are being done by the Chinese Communist Party, for instance. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I
And
mean,
so these
without a doubt.
Woking Dead, these actors who are transforming America, um, I'm assuming that they're rational actors, that they're not insane. And if they're rational actors, and we had them on the show right now, and we said to them, hey, you guys, the logical journey you're putting us on ends in communist China. In what way does the America you are trying to bring about differ from communist China? Do you have a sense of what they might say?
Not much. It doesn't differ much. I mean, what I don't know what they might say. I would say that there's a whole section of the book on China. A lot of it's
Yes.
COVID stuff. But like, for example, General Spalding gave me a blurb for the book. And one of the things he said in the blurb is that China loves anything that makes America weaker. And wokeism does that.
Yes.
Wokeism lowers our immunity. It lowers our, white blood cell count. It's kind of like a
I mean, apart
retrovirus,
from
right?
anything else, replacing
Sure.
merit, whether it's in the
Right.
cockpit of an F-35 or, for that
Exactly.
matter, of a commercial airliner, or whether it's people operating in the AI community. But as long as merit can be replaced by
Right.
DEI mandates, of course that weakens America.
Yes.
And people, how many broad categories are there in America? We've got the Woking Dead, and then we got our friends, and we've got into which category I include the folks who are allying with young kin in Virginia and trying to teach a lesson to the school districts there. And then there's probably at least one more grouping of people who just aren't paying any attention at all. They are
Sure.
essentially eating bread and watching the circus, as Gibbons wrote. We're being entertained and fed in the ideas that we ignore everything else. Is that roughly the breakdown of the population in the United States?
Pretty much. I mean, the Woking Dead are mindless. At the top of that are rational actors, like with all totalitarian movements, right? I don't care whether it's the Me Too movement or cancel culture. And, obviously, the heads of some of these corporations are scared to death of their middle management. So, Chappelle's doing a Netflix special, and then the whole middle management's in the parking lot picketing their own paychecks. And then you've got certain calculations have been made. Like, look, Jimmy Kimmel is on ABC. He's a pedantic, Gen X white guy. And
And
all the
not that funny.
no, and all the late night hosts are pretty much cut from the same cloth. They're all white, unfunny white guys, all from the same age bracket, monochromatic, and they all sort of they get their lines fed to them like a Charlie McCarthy puppet. They won't take any risks. But he basically said, look, I'm not going to, if ABC calls me in, I'm not going to stop making fun of Trump. I'm not going to stop making fun of conservatives. I don't care if I lose every viewer. I don't care. ABC is owned by Disney. Disney must not care. I mean, Disney is a, multinational corporation, just like Coca-Cola and Nike and the NBA. And I think they've made a calculation. I think they're willing to lose us as customers. I think they're willing to have us vote with our wallet, and that's the one power we have. Vote with our feet, vote with our wallet. Because I think they're calculating on replacing all of us with 1.3 billion Chinese. I think they'll say to themselves, you know what? I mean, LeBron James, he was putting a sequel to Space Jam out, which was a flop. Brilliant movie with Michael Jordan 30 years ago. LeBron tried to do, I mean, as LeBron does, he's still in Michael Jordan's shadow. He's like Michael Jordan's midget shadow. And I would say, he came out there during the Hong Kong protests and defended the crackdown. So look, Disney pulled a scene out of the Mulan movie. So they're kowtowing to China. China loves this.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's the future market for them. They're not trying to get, Americans that go to church to watch their stuff, or to go to synagogue, or just, I mean, in a lot of ways, they're not even trying to get guys like Bill Maher to watch their stuff, because it's just filled with garbage. With Disney, they've lost their minds. I mean, if you're going to be Disney and you're going to create children's programming, you should start with one question, and that is, what would Walt Disney do? And if your answer is something he wouldn't have done, don't do it.
I can't imagine. I mean, Walt Disney was a religious conservative guy. I mean, not over the top religious, but his values were old time Christian American values, and there's not a whole lot going on in Disney now that he would approve of.
Correct, and Disney's just one example. I mean, that is everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, I will say to your audience, you probably don't get to hear this that often, but I am one of them. I'm a millennial. I'm on the older end of the millennial spectrum. But I would say that one thing millennials have brought, one of the good things, is that we now have more choices than ever for our programming, our entertainment, our sports, our everything. So, and some of it's dopey stuff. You don't have to watch it. But we're no longer sort of pigeonholed into, we can only watch this movie or watch this channel or play this video game or read this book or whatever it is. So that's a good thing, and that sort of evens the market out. But look, if you told me 5 years ago that I would wake up one day and there would be a tranny in a bathtub drinking Bud Light Pounders, and that Anheuser-Busch would have lost their minds with that Bud Light ad, with this thing that they had in the tub, that they had lost their audience that much, I would tell you you're lying to me. I'd say there's no way.
Yeah, totally lost touch.
I got a bridge to sell you. It's the same thing with NASCAR. I see NASCAR dabbling in some things. Nike always has, Skittles, Coca-Cola, Levi's jeans. I mean, I go down. These are quintessential American brands.
Yes. Yeah. And part of it is they don't only think that they're taking the side in a cultural struggle. They think they're taking the noble, moral, virtuous side.
Sure.
We're not just wrong. We're evil. You wrote your book. I'm absolutely convinced. Firstly, to bring joy into people's lives, because that it does. But you also had a more serious motive as well, didn't you? What did you want to affect? What did you want to change? What did you want to make happen as a result of all the work you put into The Walking Dead?
Well, I think that most of America, to use a football, that way, politics used to be like that. It's like a wrecking ball going into the end zones. And one try to up the ante of the next, and so on. Sometimes you get some good things. Reagan Revolution, Goldwater, Netanyahu. I mean, I go down from that of it is I'm trying to talk to the people that didn't realize they were seeing wokeness, because it's now followed them home through the classroom, through the entertainment, and dare some cynic.
Yeah.
Maine, but this stuff is everywhere. Peer contagion is everywhere. It's these people have burrowed in like termites, and they are in some.
Yeah.
I never thought I would see that. So it's no longer just, Murphy Brown having a baby out of wedlock, and the political correctness crowd from the 90s, the old pantsuit mafia gals, right? That all thought Hillary was going to be the next president. That it's worse than that now. And I think Maher knows that. Maher knows it. Maher sees it. And Maher knows he's going to be put up against the wall in front of the firing squad with you and me.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And whether he's an atheist or not is now irrelevant.
Doesn't matter.
Right. He's not part of a protected group.
Right.
And he's making fun of the wrong people, or he's
no
the wrong people.
question. That's right.
Yeah. So he's got to go into history's garbage disposal as far as the left's concerned.
How far?
Yeah.
How long till the next book is released? Any idea yet?
Yeah, next year. I think
right.
so. I think
Great.
next
Terrific.
year. And look, we're going to continue this theme. I hope to put out a Walking Dead trilogy here.
Good.
I'm going to focus on some different things. Some of the things that I think one of the biggest things that the left uses to divide us is race. It's really bad. And there are rational people at the top of that. The people right. Ibrahim Kendi and some of these. Some of the people at the top of the BLM movement that, it's obviously a racket. They're grifters, but they're smart grifters. And look, after George Floyd, we had this summer of destruction of American history. And look, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm not riding around with Confederate flags. I'm no fan of, the Confederacy. I live in Virginia. I would say this, though. We all knew they weren't going to stop as far as the statues coming down and the twilight of the idols and the crushing of Western civilization. Because, look, The Walking Dead has two goals: the destruction of the middle class and the dissolving of the nuclear family. And that's a micro. And then the macro is the removal of Western civilization. So Judeo-Christian, Greco-Roman civilization. They all got to go. They got to go. And then they'll replace it with their bleak, disgusting image. I mean, that's the goal. That's been cultural Marxism's goal since Antonio Gramsci, 1910, World War I, Sanger, Wilson, President Wilson, the whole gang. And they infected the entertainment industry then, Broadway, early radio, silent picture, so on. But I will tell you, as far as race goes, they didn't stop with the Confederate generals. They came for all the generals. They came for the Union generals. They've come for the World War II generals. They went back to the Revolutionary War. And the funny thing is, you mentioned Youngkin earlier. I'm in Virginia. And the funny thing is, Virginia has been sort of ground zero to some degree for what I'm talking about. And I'm going to get into this in the next book, is that to cancel America, you have to cancel Virginia. Why? A couple things. Both the Revolutionary War and the Civil War ended here. They ended in Virginia. People don't think about it, but they did. They ended at Yorktown and they ended at Appomattox Courthouse. Virginia was, along with Massachusetts and Pennsylvania at the time of the Revolution, the richest colonies, the three richest colonies. Virginia was the home of the first dynasty, political dynasty, where you have 4 out of the first 5 presidents all coming from Virginia in basically the same intellectual tradition to some degree. So they have to go. And it's hard to get rid of them the old-fashioned Robert E. Lee way, like pulling down a statue in Charlottesville, or the Stonewall Jackson way, where you're pulling down a statue. You've got to have more money. You've got to be smarter and a little more nefarious. And I'll tell you what they're doing, and I'm going to be writing about this in the next book, a little preview. They are getting on to the boards of Monticello, Mount Vernon, Ashlawn Highland, which is Monroe's house, and Montpelier, which is Madison's house. And they're getting on the board so that you can't bulldoze Monticello or Mount Vernon. You can't send Antifa in and burn the place. So instead, they're going to get in like a tapeworm and destroy it from the inside. And I'll tell you how they do it. And to a lesser degree, George Mason and Patrick Henry, they got to go too. They were never president, but they got to go. Okay. And they're Virginians as well. So these are, the 7 most famous Virginians, at least in the, 19th century, 18th century. So they get on the board, Rabbi. They use Soros money. They get on the board and they start voting conservatives or people they want to preserve off the board. And they eat from the inside out. So they start removing. If you go to Montpelier, for example, Madison's house, you get a little blip on the tour of the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. You get these little blips. Most of the tour is about how much Madison sucks and what a racist he was and how he didn't free his slaves on his deathbed like Washington and all this other stuff. I mean, look, they're coming for Washington too, but they can't use that one. They'll use other ones, So that's what they're trying to do. If they can't bulldoze or burn, then they'll use big-time left-wing money, some of it international. They'll get in, they'll redo all the exhibits, and it'll become just this sick, demented, woke, disgusting Benetton ad about how, this place is here, but he really kind of, he was a terrible person, and, he did this and he did that, and yeah, he might have done this then, but really we should only talk about race and racism and, validate the 1619 Project. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And they're not, and not just at the homes of presidents, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing it at Colonial Williamsburg in Virginia.
Oh, my goodness.
They're doing it at Jamestown, which is the 1619 Project.
Yeah.
In Virginia. So to cancel America, you got to cancel Virginia first. So you got to come for Virginia first. Youngkin knows this, and I get it. Look, Youngkin's not everyone's cup of tea, not every conservative's cup of tea. But, he is a warrior in his fleece vest, and he is trying to at least stand up for Western civilization and the American experiment, and he should be commended for that.
AJ, one of the things your book did for me, The Woking Dead, is that it helped sharpen my antennae to recognize some of the subterranean techniques and strategies being employed by the Woking Dead in order to seize control of the culture. And in that, it was extremely useful. I want to thank you very much, not only for writing the book, and I'm looking forward to the next one, and I know we'll be in touch and we'll talk regularly, but for spending a little time with me on the Rabbi Daniel Lapin Show. I really appreciate that because, as you say, we've known each other for a long time, and I know that you are really in the trenches. You are really doing a whole lot more than just talking. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate the time together, and I look forward to doing it again.
Well, look, Rabbi, we appreciate you. We know you're a patriot. You've been fighting for, traditional values and sanity for a long time. You've got allies across the many Abrahamic religions and then some. I know you've been a counsel to many politicians and presidents, and look, it's been an honor. I hope to come back.
Yep, we'll continue the dialogue for sure.
Absolutely. And look, bless you on all the high holidays.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
We'll see what the future holds, my friend.
We absolutely will. AJ Rice, author of The Woking Dead. Till next time.
That was our conversation with AJ Rice, a star of the conservative political world. He's also chief executive officer of one of the top public relations firms in Washington, D.C. It's called Publius PR. And he's very frank. He says he wants to save America from Joe Biden and his woke zombie battalions in government, entertainment, academia, sports, and media. And the book is The Woking Dead. I found it not only hilarious, it really was. It was very easy to read. It was as funny as anything, but it was also hard-hitting and and really, really penetrating. So hope you enjoyed meeting A.J. Rice and that you enjoy his book as well. And that brings us to as far as we can go for today on the Rabbi Daniel Lapin Show. So thanks for being part of the show. Thank you very much. All of you have been so diligently promoting the show by sending the link to friends and telling people about it. You're obviously having a very effective run of it, and it's all been for the good of the show, which I greatly appreciate. The website is rabbidaniellapin.com, and you can also read more about our book, The Holistic You, right there, or anywhere else on the internet. The book is out and moving fast. Thanks for being part of the Rabbi Daniel Lapin Show. Until our next occasion to meet together in about a week's time, I want to wish you a week of moving onwards and upwards with your friendships, with your faith, with your finances, with your fitness, and with your family. I'm Rabbi Daniel Lapin. God bless.